The twin suns of Karath 9 hung low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the crimson wasteland. From her position 3 kilometers away, Jaina adjusted the scope of her railgun, her breath steady despite the 140-degree heat baking the rocks around her. Through the magnified lens, she watched the valley below where massive creatures, what the xenobiologists had dubbed Alpha's cubs, played in the dust like oversized cats. Target acquired, she whispered into her comm, counting 6 juveniles. No sign of Alpha yet. Her spotter, Martinez, lay beside her in the shallow depression they'd carved into the ridgeline before dawn. Copy that. Command wants visual confirmation before we engage. They still think these things might be sapient. Jaina allowed herself a bitter smile. Sapient. The word felt hollow after what she'd seen 3 days ago at Forward Base Terminus. The scream still echoed in her dreams. 23 soldiers torn apart in minutes when Alpha had descended on their outpost like a hurricane of claws and fury. The cubs had followed, learning from their parent how to hunt humans. Through her scope, the largest cub, easily the size of a cargo hauler, tumbled through the rust-colored sand. Its 6 legs propelled it with terrifying grace, chitinous armor gleaming like polished obsidian. The creature's name tag flickered in her HUD, Corvic, assigned by some optimistic scientist who'd studied them from orbit before the colony had descended into this nightmare. Corvic pounced on one of his siblings, and they rolled together in a cloud of red dust. If Jaina hadn't known better, she might have found it almost cute. But she had learned better. She'd learned when she'd held Private Chen's hand as he died, his abdomen opened by claws designed by evolution, or something worse, to shred composite armor like tissue paper. Jaina, Martinez's voice crackled in her ear. You seeing this? She shifted her scope fractionally. At the far end of the valley, something moved. Something that made the cubs look small. Alpha. The creature emerged from a cave system they hadn't mapped, its body easily 40 meters long. Where the cubs had 6 legs, Alpha possessed 8, each ending in talons that gouged trenches in solid rock. Its head, if it could be called that, resembled a nightmare fusion of insect and reptile, with compound eyes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Command. This is Overwatch 7, Jaina spoke quickly. Alpha is on site. Repeat, Alpha is on site. Requesting permission to engage. Static. Then negative Overwatch 7. Admiral Voss wants live observation. He believes Alpha is demonstrating parental behavior. Do not engage unless directly threatened. Jaina's jaw clenched. Parental behavior. As if that made it better. As if being a good parent somehow excused the wholesale slaughter of human colonists. She'd read the reports. 40,000 dead in the first week. Entire settlements erased. Children's playgrounds turned into charnel houses. Through her scope, she watched Alpha approach the cubs. Corvic bounded toward the massive creature and something unexpected happened. Alpha lowered its enormous head, and Corvic nuzzled against what might have been its parent's cheek. The other cubs gathered around, climbing over Alpha's legs, playing with its tail. Jesus, Martinez breathed. It really is teaching them. And it was. Alpha began moving in a pattern, slow, deliberate movements that the cubs mimicked. Jaina's tactical AI analyzed the motion and her blood ran cold. They were practicing hunting formations. Alpha was drilling its offspring in coordinated attack patterns. Command, Jaina said, her voice tight. They're training. Alpha is teaching the cubs military tactics. If we don't act now, hold position, Overwatch 7. Admiral's orders are explicit. Jaina watched Corvic and his siblings fall into formation, moving with increasing precision. In her mind's eye, she saw Forward Base Terminus again. She saw Chen's face. She saw the cubs that had learned so well from their parent. Her finger rested on the trigger guard. One shot. At this range, with a railgun firing depleted uranium penetrators at Mach 15, she could take Alpha's head clean off. The cubs would scatter. Maybe they could even be contained, studied, relocated to an uninhabited world. But orders were orders. Martinez, she said quietly. Get me a wind reading. Jaina, they said. Wind reading now. A pause. Then point 3 west to east. Minimal deflection at this range. Below, Alpha raised its head suddenly, those impossible eyes scanning the ridgeline. Could it sense them? After 3 days of observing from this position, had they finally been compromised? Corvic and the other cubs froze, mimicking their parents' alertness. They were learning so fast, too fast. Jaina's finger moved to the trigger. She thought about orders and admirals safe in orbit. She thought about sapience and parental behavior, and all the pretty words that bureaucrats use to delay hard decisions. She thought about Chen and 22 others who died screaming. But mostly, she thought about the colony ship she'd seen on her way to this ridge. The one carrying 15,000 civilians who'd arrive in orbit in 4 days, unaware that Kareth 9 was no longer safe, unaware that something down here had learned to hunt them. Overwatch 7, confirm you are holding position. Jaina took a breath, released it slowly, squeezed. The railgun's report echoed across the valley like thunder. Through her scope, she watched Alpha's head explode in a spray of ichor and bone. The massive body collapsed, sending up a plume of crimson dust. The cubs scattered. Korvik looked back once at his fallen parent before disappearing into the caves. Overwatch 7. Report. Did you engage? Jaina began breaking down her rifle. Negative, command. Target eliminated itself. Appeared to be some kind of territorial dispute. We're relocating to secondary position per protocol. Martinez stared at her. She met his eyes. You didn't see anything different, did you, Corporal? After a long moment, he shook his head. No, ma'am. Terrible tragedy. Nature is cruel. They gathered their gear and began the long descent from the ridge, leaving the valley behind. Somewhere in the caves below, 6 cubs had just learned a different lesson than Alpha had intended. They'd learned that humans bite back.